Any other hackers here today? A few? Good. All right. So I have so much to share with you guys. I'm going to just haul ass and try and get through this. So, anybody here ever heard of Moore's Law? No. Forget that. Look at this exponential curve. See if you can find yourself on this chart. The entire history of humans is not very many of us until the last couple hundred years, right? Thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, bam. So what happened? New religion? Some government policy or charity? Nope. Every single time, we invented a new technology to solve some hard technical problem that kept humans from thriving. Think about that. How do we feed all these people? How do we eradicate the disease that's wiping them out? How do you get them homes, keep most of them employed? And so, if there's anything all these extra humans are good for, it's making more problems. So our job, you and me, the people in this room, our job is to figure out how we're going to increase the rate at which we solve problems and invent new solutions. And that's hard, and it's new, and it's not what people in the world believe in, right? And we have to solve that. So this old buddy of mine named Sammy, he's kind of a famous computer hacker. Sammy got in a little bit of trouble for writing a virus to meet girls on the internet and wasn't allowed to use a computer for a few years. But he's back now. And playing with Google Maps. You guys use these maps, right? You know how Google knows how to color the roads for traffic? Yeah, your phones are all telling Google that you're stuck in traffic. Well, Sammy figured out he can just lie to Google, and all the roads he's about to drive on clear out, and people get out of his way. Pretty ingenious, right? Here's another deranged hacker, Abad. Probably don't want to hire this guy, but Abad, also trying to meet girls on the internet, figured out he's got a state-of-the-art artificial intelligence engine right in his computer, which is his spam filter. So he took the profiles of girls he dated and didn't like and fed them in to train it as spam. The girls he dated and did like, he fed them in as legitimate email, and then he just runs his spam filter against every profile on the internet. And it tells him which girls he might like to date. There's probably 3 spam dating startups that should exist right now, and we don't have any. Guys like this don't think the same way as everybody you know, right? They have screwed up brains that work differently. They're violating the warranty before they got the packaging off something, right? If you get a new gadget and show it to, your mom or your grandma, she might say, well, what does this do? And you can explain, Mom, it's an iPhone. It says on the box, iPhone. Got it. But if you get a new gadget and give it to Sammy or Abad, the question is different. The question is, what can I make this do? And they're going to flip it over, take out all the screws, break it into a lot of little pieces, and then figure out what can we build from the rubble. And that discovery process of figuring out what is possible the first time is fundamental to invention. It's fundamental to innovation. And without it, you will never, ever get a new technology. Nobody's ever invented a new technology by reading the directions. Right? That's impossible. And it's not going to start happening all of a sudden. So what are we going to do? We're going to figure out how to take guys like this and get them doing what they're good at. First of all, we got to get them out of the computer security department and back into, doing something useful. Here's a protocol diagram. It describes what happens in this case, the encryption system in your web browser that encrypts your passwords and credit card numbers. What a hacker will do is attack every point in this protocol. What happens if I send a date from the future? What happens if I send 2 responses instead of 1? What happens if I send a 0 instead of a 1? It might break. And if I can get it to break, maybe I can get it to break in a way that gives me your password or credit card, right? And hackers are deranged. They'll just try everything. They don't have anything better to do. If you're designing a product, you're trying to make it work for the people who actually want to use it, right? So this is Anopheles defensi. She's a female mosquito carrying malaria in a little bit of your blood. And she is the most dangerous animal on planet Earth. Not sharks, not spiders, not snakes. This little mosquito. We don't actually understand that much about them. We don't even know how they can fly. Like, this is wings that are too small to be Bernoulli effect, so she's like swimming in air or something. But I have a super badass video camera, so I figured I'd show you what that looks like. So this is a protocol diagram for malaria. It spends some of its life cycle inside of a human, some of its life cycle inside the mosquito. It's super complicated. We don't actually understand that much about how it works. But what I do in the lab where I work is I hire hackers to attack every point in this protocol. We are going to eradicate malaria once and for all in our lifetime. It's almost 1 million lives a year of humans, just humans. But we can't do it by reading the directions. So we have to invent. Here's the old-fashioned way of going after malaria. Spray chemicals that kill everything. And then you hope some of the good stuff comes back. And you teach your kids, DDT is good for me. It's not really good for you. Yeah, this is a real ad from like the 30s or 40s. So we thought it would be funny to find those mosquitoes and shoot them down with laser beams. Which sounds awesome, right? So we laughed about that for a while. And then we tried it. So here's what this looks like. Using machine vision, which sounds super high-tech, and really it's just computers looking for stuff and video. We find stuff that's moving. We aim a laser at the thing that's moving. We use that signal to sample the wing beat frequency. And from that, we can sort out it's a bug, it's a mosquito, the species, and the gender. Valid target. Shoot it down with a lethal laser. Here's what that looks like. She's not coming back. Here we like vaporized her wing off. It's okay, you can laugh. Actually, you can kill as many mosquitoes as you want and nobody cares. Not even PETA will come save them. Yeah. Here we hadn't quite tuned our laser, so it's just like vaporized an entire bug. Yeah, very satisfying work if you can get it. So the idea is you'd put this laser on a fence post every 100 meters or so around a building or a village and shoot mosquitoes as they fly towards humans to get your blood. But here's the thing. We dreamt this up with some genius physicists and laughed about it. Then we hired this guy, Eric Johansson, computer hacker. Eric went on eBay, bought a bunch of consumer electronics, tore them apart, and had this thing working in 6 weeks. Why did it take millions of years to get there? Right? So this work is going on at the Intellectual Ventures Lab, where I work. This is our machine shop. We basically just bought one of every tool in the world, hired one of every kind of scientist, put them all on the same team, and started trying to invent for the biggest problems that we could find. Can we, whatever. here's our machine shop. We have a warehouse with another like 8,000 tools that don't fit in the lab. But I can have any of them online this afternoon if I need it for a project. And that's a way to cheat at invention, right? Turns out invention is pretty haphazard. It's crazy hair in a garage and years of, nights and weekends, and nobody's funding you, and you're probably going to get to work on 1 or 2 or 3 inventions in a year, and you're probably going to be wrong and die in obscurity. That's inventors a lot. So our idea overall was to try and scale all this up. What happens if we do it 1,000 times bigger than the garage? And so we do that. We hire inventors. We work with inventors all over the world, and we try and get them aimed at problems that matter. And occasionally, you get a hit. But very occasionally. Our business model is basically a batting average of 1. I file patents on 1,000 inventions, and I hope one of them pays for all the failures. That's working out. So this is interesting stuff. It's a can the size of a Coors Light that contains depleted uranium. In that can is enough energy, so much energy, that's equivalent to $12 million of gas at the pump. Energy density of uranium is insane. But, it's dangerous, and radioactive, and politically unpopular, has lots of problems. And then we have these, stainless steel casks that we stockpile into the horizon, saving them for our grandkids, figuring, they'll figure out something to do with it. So here's our gift to you. lots of nuclear waste. But what people don't realize is today's reactors, are 0.7% efficient. You dig uranium out of the ground, by the time you burn it in a reactor, you're only getting 0.7% of the energy out. 99.3% of the energy is still in nuclear waste. We designed today's reactors 50, 60, 70 years ago with pencils and slide rules. And they're amazing and miraculous, and those engineers are incredible. But you know what? We can do better now. We have calculators and more. So we designed a new type of reactor that's powered by nuclear waste. You just take that crap from the stockpile, put it in here, and it gets enriched and burned right inside the reactor. So the green stuff is the nuclear waste. The red stuff is a little bit of enriched fuel that you use to start what's called a traveling wave. The first wave enriches the fuel. The second wave burns the fuel. It burns from one end to the other over the course of, in this design, 60 years. And it's a modern, safe reactor design. But even more important, instead of 0.7, we get the rest of that energy out. It turns out, with this one stockpile in Kentucky, there's 700,000 metric tons of depleted uranium sitting here on the surface of the Earth. With this one stockpile in our reactors, we can power the entire planet, including growth, which you don't see in anybody else's projections about energy, right? Including growth for the next 1,000 years. And we don't need to dig up any more uranium. We don't need a miracle, like with fusion or something like that. All we need to do is engineer a better reactor. So we're working on that. So this is my childhood in one slide. Now you know my story. Anybody else grow up with an Apple II? In this crowd, there's got to be a couple. Yeah. So this is a piece of shit. It's like it's literally a 1 kiloflop processor, which is about as fast as like a third grader, right? In your pocket, as you guys know by now, you're hauling around about 115 gigaflops. I'm so happy to see you. And what I think about that is, for the first time in human history, we have surpassed the point where my entire life I was resource constrained. I was fantasizing about getting my hands on a Cray XMP, meager 400 megaflops, but I was fantasizing about that all the time. And now, our computational ability, we far exceeded it, what we could do with these things, but our imagination's not keeping up. Right? You have more computational power in your pocket than you know what to do with. So we're making like fart apps for the iPhone and stuff just to waste cycles and, smile at Snapchat and become a mermaid. Yeah. So my whole career I've been working on imagining what could I do with that computer. If it were a little faster, a little cheaper, a little more memory, where could it go? And so, most of my career has been working on things that were totally impractical, a decade too soon. Here's one where we kind of got it right. We took a $100,000 industrial 3D printer and figured out how to make a $2,000 desktop 3D printer, right? And this has changed the world, or at least the world's imagination, right? These things still don't make anything anybody wants to buy, but it changes your imagination about what's possible. And I think that the tools are really important. That's why we have that big machine shop. Because when you know how you can make things, you can imagine what could be made in a different way. And with 3D printing, you guys know plenty about 3D printing right now, but I've been working on this probably longer than anyone. And people are really excited about this additive manufacturing and stuff, but I don't think that's what counts. What's amazing about a 3D printer is it's programmable. It's a programmable factory. It doesn't care if it ever makes the same thing twice. It's just code. It can make whatever that is. You can send it sunglasses or a coffee mug. It'll make that next. So that programmability is powerful, and it's changing the way we make things. We have to reinvent every manufacturing tool in this light. Check this out. This is a 6-year-old girl. She doesn't know how to use CAD, but she knows how to use a Sharpie, right? Since MakerBot, I started working on this. It's called Glowforge. It's another type of tool. You just draw something, throw it in there. A computer using machine vision looks at it and says, oh, how about if I etch all the places where you Sharpied? How about if I cut an outline? How about if I make 10 of them for your birthday party, right? You can reinvent the tools, make them accessible, and you can change what's possible to make, and you can change the timeline in which it's made, and you can give people this kind of creative capability that wasn't available when, I don't know if you've all used a laser cutter. I've had them for 20 years, and they're exactly the same today as they were 20 years ago. There's a hacked up print driver you install on your Windows 95 box, and you click print, and it goes and cuts everywhere that you made a red line. Right? That's it. Not that amazing. Anybody, you guys are sick of hearing about this shit, skip that. But if you're trying to disrupt something, you need to start with the most fucked up industry you can find. Right? So here's an example that I kind of got interested in. This is a yarn spinning operation, 100 years ago in America, making yarn to knit fabric to make clothes. We do it in Indonesia now, but with a particulate filter, so it's improved a lot in 100 years. Yeah. Same thing with sewing. We used to sew here, we don't do that anymore. But now we do it with a particulate filter in Bangladesh. And then, this is what happens to factories in Bangladesh where there's no OSHA. Meanwhile, this is a really, really inefficient industry, even for the most crappy product, like a T-shirt, your lowest common denominator product. You grow cotton in one country, you ship it to another country to be beaten down and bleached into something sort of white. You ship it to another country to be spun into yarn, shipped to another country to be knit or woven into fabric, shipped to another country to be dyed or cut and sewn into T-shirts, and then shipped back to America, where we screen print team building exercise 1999 on it. You wear it like one time, throw it in the bottom of your closet, and you're done. That's $4, right? Think you could improve that? And that's just the t-shirt. So, meanwhile, the apparel industry is pretending you're a unique and special snowflake. You're really just a small, medium, or large snowflake, right? Because we have no idea, like, who's going to buy this thing when we make it, right? And, if you are making t-shirts, you make them for the winners and the losers, and then you sell whichever ones turn out to be relevant. The other ones, you ship off to South Africa and write off as a charitable donation. If you go to South Africa, they have a wildly skewed perspective on American football. Yeah. I see some inefficiencies here. And you may not realize this is an industry that exchanges $3 trillion a year. Every human on earth is a customer. And it's super stratified, right? Nobody can control that whole process. Nobody does that, and they can just put a little price pressure on the guy below them to be a little bit more smarmy and hire a few more slaves. Hire slaves, I like that. Yeah. If you're a fashion designer, things aren't any better for you. You dream something up. You make one, you put it on the runway, you hope you get orders. You fax them off to China. You wait for some shit to be, shipped back to you in 6 months. When you put it on shelves, you wait for it to sell. And if it all goes great, you get paid 90 days later. And if you guessed right about what size, what design, what color, and volume, then it's all perfect. And if you guessed wrong, then they send the stuff back to you. And you got to liquidate it or give it away, right? If you guessed right, you're making money. If you underestimated, you're losing money because you could have sold stuff. So that cycle time is a problem. So think about this. Back in the 80s, here's how we made software. I dream something up, I roll out of bed, I write some code for about 18 months. Then it goes on a floppy disk in a shrink-wrapped box on the shelf at the App Store, where you wait for somebody to buy it. Inside the box with the floppy disks is a postcard where you can write bugs and mail them with a stamp that you lick to Microsoft or Adobe or Apple, right? And then another year later, version 2 on the shelf, the bug's fixed. We made software exactly the same way we made everything else in the world. Tennis shoes, car parts, everything. 18-month development cycle, right? Here's how we do software today. I dream some shit up. I roll out of bed. I write some code, launch it at lunchtime. Pissed off users are emailing me all afternoon. I'm scrambling to fix bugs, check in the code, launch it, go to dinner. Same thing after dinner. We launch 2, 3, 4, 5 versions of our software every day. That's our web apps. That's our mobile apps. Everybody in this room is probably running a different version of Facebook right now. A/B testing everything. That's so powerful. When you hear software is eating the world again, 17 more times today, the reason is you can hire dumb shits to write your web apps and mobile apps. Because you don't need to be so smart that you can invent a product that's going to sell in 18 months. Who here wants to guess what people want to buy in a year and a half when I can make it and sell it tomorrow? Right? And that's why software is so powerful. We got the cycle time down to nothing. Well, there's work left to do. Take a look at this. It's like, I don't have anything to do with this. I just thought it was cool. This is like CAD software for clothes. You draw something on a computer without ever touching any fabric even. You can define every little detail just like in CAD, right? And then, watch this is my favorite part. See what it's going to look like on the body before you ever make anything. That's incredible, right? If we can make self-driving cars, and we can make surgical robots, how long do you think it's going to be before we can make a self-driving sewing machine? The worst, shittiest jobs in the world right now are factory sewing jobs. There's a million of them. Those are the people getting paid 50 cents a day. What's missing with this machine? No humans running it. We don't have these yet, but they're imminent. And when they come, there's going to be a sea change in an industry that's everybody on stage is going to tell you that truck drivers are the biggest segment of labor market in America and self-driving trucks are coming. That's just the start. Self-driving sewing machines even bigger. No one's talking about that yet. So to play with these ideas, I wanted to make a company that worked the way we imagine 3D printers to work. Click buy now, robots make your stuff, and drop it in the mail. So a couple years ago, we launched this thing, which is called Bombsheller. And what we do is we do that. We can't do it with 3D printers, but we can do it with 2D printers. So we print these graphics on fabric. An artist can just design anything, even the old-fashioned way, stick it on his computer, and then the next thing you know, we've turned it into a product, right? This doesn't take 18 months. It takes us about a day. Here's how it works. You guys can all try this at home tonight for fun. This is a map of Seattle. I'm not much of an artist, so I took this map of Seattle from Google Images. You stick it on the template in Adobe Illustrator, which you can all probably figure out how to do, and you're done. That gets uploaded. We stick it on this 3D video game babe to see what it's going to look like on the body before we've ever made anything. That goes in the catalog, right? And we don't make it until someone clicks buy now. And we don't even know, maybe Seattle's not your thing. That's no problem. Here's Marissa and her 6 twin sisters. We do all the cities. Who cares, right? And that's because it's manufactured on demand, right? You click buy now, robots make your stuff and drop it in the mail the next day. And that's working now. It's totally vertically integrated. When I make a sale, I keep all that money that was normally going to all those other middlemen. Pretty good business. We can reinvent these industries and get gains at every layer if we rethink them, right? This company has nobody who's ever worked in the apparel industry before working there. But, we just make these graphic leggings right now. So that's dancers, people working out, rock climbers, runners. It turns out lots of people wear leggings. It's superheroes, or I don't even know what that is. Yeah. And it's changing the way apparel is manufactured. You could do that in a lot of industries. Obviously, the yoga girls don't want the same thing as the heavy metal girls or the CrossFit girls. So we don't care. We have 700 designs in the catalog and new ones every day. We make them all because it doesn't cost us anything to do that. That's making clothes the way software is made. So see if you can find yourself on this chart. Remember these guys? Maybe you're in let's say the red part or the blue part. It doesn't really matter. Somewhere in there is you and me. And if you're in the bottom 99% in America, the bottom 1%, you're still in the top 14% globally. That's an amazing thing. It's like being a lottery winner, you guys. It's like being a 2-time lottery winner. You won once by being human, which is about as good as it gets for a mammal, right? You won the second time by being American, which is pretty awesome. But what I think it means is the world has just over-invested in us, which is fine. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. It's me too, right? More money, more energy, more education was spent on you and me. And I think it means we need to do what we're uniquely good for. If you've got an iPhone in your pocket, the cost of that thing is is equivalent to the global median income. Not for a person, but for a whole family. One iPhone. I got piles of these things. It's okay. Get an iPhone. Get a Tesla. Do what you have to do. We are the early adopter market. Our job is to invent these things, spend ridiculous amounts of money on them so that we can see if they work and get those technologies developed to the point where we can figure out which ones actually can help the world. It's okay, but I think we need to think about what we're going to be working on, right? This is Silicon Valley religion in one slide. Scratch an itch. Anybody here ever heard of scratch an itch? Scratch an itch means find some problem that you have. It's like budget market research, and go solve that problem, because probably if you have it, other people have it. You and I are running out of problems, guys. My problems are like my iPhone battery doesn't last all day, and relationship problems, right? I don't have existential problems, and neither do you, right? And what I think about that is it means that it's our job to figure out what problems to take on, right? And I think about this, we don't need more iPhone apps to have shit delivered to us, right? I think it's okay to build those, but think about it as practice. Whatever you're doing now, think about it as practice problem, right? Build a team, learn to make a product, learn to ship it, learn to support it, learn to market, all that stuff that you need. Do it, but it's practice. And then take on a problem that 1 billion people have. That's harder. You don't have it. You got to go there. Here's an example. This woman is packing $250,000 worth of vaccines into a $2 styrofoam cooler. She's going to truck it out into the bush in sub-Saharan Africa, start injecting kids to vaccinate them. 250,000 kids are going to die every year of something they were vaccinated against because those vaccines didn't stay cold. That's all. Now, we don't have this problem. We have refrigerators. Yeah. We have power for the fridges. Great. But here is a situation where that's not something people can take for granted. So we invented this thing. It's not that hard. It's cool. It's actually really cool. You put vaccines in here. You stick it in the sunshine, in the Sahara. No external power. There's no power cord. You can't plug it in. Come back a few months later, and your vaccines will still be cold. It was easy for us in a way, because we have super educated scientists and physicists on our team. Now, we had to go to Africa, and we had to drive out into the bush. We had to hang out with these doctors trying to inject kids, and we had to learn the problem. But then when we got home, it was actually pretty easy. It took us years to make it manufacturable and stuff, but it was internalizing that problem. This thing is actually alive. It's being manufactured and shipped in a few countries now. They're all over, going more places, and it's saving lives. This is how they get there. This is not a joke. This is Ethiopia. This is what's actually going on, right? So we just send a little bit of science on the back of a camel, right? Now, I keep saying it's easy because you guys could do this too. It's not just me and my fancy lab, right? But we had to go learn a problem. This is the state of the art in transporting vaccines. It's good for 4 hours instead of months, right? There's a lot of those problems out there that 1 billion people have, and I think we all need to go build a cool iPhone app first, and then we need to go internalize a problem we don't have. And I'm hoping that you guys, this is it. It's us, people in this room. That's it. We're the future of this, of bringing technology to the world to solve problems. And I hope that you will join me in that. So my name is Pablos. I'm done. I'm gonna get off stage.
Right. Not quite done.
Okay.
It was awesome. Thank you, Pablos. Yeah, great. So we actually have a.
Thank you. It's enough.
All right. Wow. Nice. Great. So we have a couple minutes. I think we're going to take just 2 or 3 questions from the audience. It was such a great session. And so if anyone has a question, please raise a hand, and we'll send a mic runner over to you.
It looks like there's enough energy in the world in Kentucky right now, or wherever that was.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we've been working on that project for about a decade. He asked about our nuclear reactor and how long it's going to take. And it's one of these things where it's not like building an iPhone app or a startup in general. It's long and slow, and that's partly the safety associated with building a nuclear reactor and designing it to be perfectly safe. Before you build one, you can't iterate on it the way I described with other products. The regulatory environment in the U.S. is abysmal because, nuclear became politically unpopular, so we kind of shut that down. U.S. government won't let us make a test core in this country. So they told us we should probably go to Russia or China and see if they'll let us do it.
Or the moon.
What's that?
Or the moon.
Okay. Or the moon, yeah. So we're advancing it. Bill Gates is the chairman of that company, and it's going really great. It just takes a long time. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Have you thought about ways to enlist young people, like kids of school age, in this process of both finding and solving problems?
Yeah, I have, actually. I think that they should drop out of school and go play Minecraft. Which sounds flippant, but I'm not sure I have a better answer, even if I think about it. I mean, I think it's important. One of the observations made by one of the speakers yesterday, Anne, who's 18, was that she grew up in obscurity with a box of transistors, not abundance. And that's what got her to that inventive mind. I grew up in the cold, in the dark, in a basement in Alaska with an Apple II. And I learned a lot from that, and it made me inventive in a way. And I think that one of the problems maybe we have right now is that even my own daughter, she's got the Young Ladies Illustrated primer in her bedroom, an iPad, and she's learning a lot from the iPad, but there's not a lot of obscurity in her life. There's a lot of abundance. So I don't know. There might be something to tweak right there. I'll be around. You guys can come tell me why you think I'm full of shit one-on-one, and I'm totally up for that. And I'd love to hear about your own projects. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pablos. Appreciate it. Awesome session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.